I'm feeling delighted and anxious because you're going to go off with my phone and you're going to be recording interviews with people who I know and who know about me and my project, and the project is my historical novel, What If the Queen Should Die, about Queen Anne, and that's something that has to be published this summer because that's the 300th anniversary, and it's not all in my hands because now you're doing something. So what might you get from people? What might they tell you about my project? It's all rather delightful and hair-raising, and I'm giving you all this stuff, and so I'm really chuffed that you want to do it and at the same time anxious. So thanks, Ben. I want to tell you about an experiment I did while writing the novel when I got almost to the very end and I started to become really interested in theatrical improvisation.
I met John Paul on an improvisation course, and I'm an actress, and I thought that John Paul was actually a very good improviser. Sometimes actors aren't the best improvisers because we want to be good. But John Paul, as you know, having got any expectations about what it is to do stage improvisation, he was just very spontaneous, and I could feel immediately that he made up very good stories.
Well, I do remember now, it's coming back to me that John, I said, well, is there room for the improvising people in here? And he said, well, I suppose I could ask them to improvise the characters and see what happens, to get them, see what the conversations were. And then he got downcast and said, oh, but they'd never want to do that. So I said, well, what would it take to ask them? All right, I'll ask them, but I know they're never going to want to do that.
As some of you know, I have written a novel. In fact, I started working on it in 2002. But if you wanted to join in doing some role-playing, improv sort of scenes, I would be really, really chuffed because it might be so much more interesting than if I stand here or sit here in a room on my own saying what comes next and keep on not finding the inspiration. It might be great fun just to play at these things.
When you're writing, it's usually like that. You write a piece and then you rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it. And he'd done a lot of that, and I didn't really want to do more of it. So improvising with characters, playing all the different roles, you could get all that information in one go. So I was into it, and we spent a day doing it, and that was one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had.
And John Paul had baked some sourdough bread, and there was a selection of kind of deli treats to go with the sourdough bread. And he sort of said, oh, hello, Olly, come in, great to see you. And we proceeded to play for a few hours.
When you work this way, you're in a sort of trance.
Yeah.
Basically, or you're in a flow where you're both conscious and unconscious about what's going on. But what I remember, what I sensed from the Queen Anne scene was, of course, this woman has been through so many tragic things in her life that also made her strong and very vulnerable at the same time, but a very strong character, very strong personality. And of course, even though she was a queen, she had all the same emotions, the same love as every mother would have for her children.
I can't remember a whole lot from the session, but the one thing that I can remember really vividly is a moment where Queen Anne is reunited with someone. I don't know who, but Queen Anne is reunited with this person. And we ran what would happen. We ran improvisations based on what would happen when she was reunited with this person. And I think we ran it 3 times. And the first time there was a lot of love, relief and joy on the part of her. The second time there was a lot of anger and harsh words spoken. And the third time, which was the time I was playing Queen Anne, she said nothing. She refused to engage with this, in this attempt at a reunification, and it proved to be this really sort of electrifying, kind of interesting thing that can happen sometimes when when you're acting out something. And one moment you're just sort of sat in a fluorescently lit community centre room in off the edge of a road, the next moment you're kind of transported a little bit, and it provokes some very interesting, intriguing discussions and responses.
I find it very, very interesting that John Paul has a playful approach to what he does when he creates material, and I think that's the way new art forms or new things, really interesting things, comes up. That's when you have a curiosity and a playfulness and a generosity in your way of working.
Well, I played Daniel Defoe in one scene where we know Daniel Defoe is probably a spy. Whether he was an assassin, we don't know, but John Paul has him attempt to assassinate James II. So we did several versions of my assassination of James II. It's like being in a samurai movie. It was great. It was really, really fun. I made him, he got up, and I had this thing where he got up out of his bed and he didn't have his clothes on. And I'd read somewhere that it's very, very hard to kill someone without their clothes on, so I'd make him get dressed. So he thinks he's being taken away. So he drops his guard and then I killed him. So it's all kind of detail that I don't think, if I'd written that scene, I would never have come up with that detail. But it was the reality of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what I love about Jean Paul is he's really into interaction. So, I mean, I know if you go to a talk and Jean Paul's giving a talk, he wants people to heckle from the audience or to shout things out or give impact or come on stage with him and be part of it.